So in the weekend edition of the RCWR show, we take a look back in wrestling from what all you might have missed from this past week's WWE Raw, SmackDown, main event, TNA, Impact Wrestling, very latest in wrestling related news and beyond. It's the weekend edition of the RCWR show, and it begins right now.
Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond, you're listening to the RCWR Show, Weekend Edition, with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcoming you to the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. I am your host, the Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. Thank you so much for checking out this episode today on March 23rd, 2013. This is a first for us, as for the first time in RCWR show history, the weekend edition of the RCWR show is being an exclusive to YouTube. That's right. It's a special treat to our YouTube subscribers for continuing to show their loyalty to us, continuing to subscribe to us, and checking out all the great content that we put up on a weekly basis. We just thought that with our 1 year anniversary, it would be kind of nice to do something for you all. So here you go. Normally our weekend edition, it airs strictly on Blog Talk Radio, and our YouTube subscribers, they get a remixed audio enhanced version of it after the show is off the air. But this weekend we're going to be covering the Shine 8 Wrestling pay-per-view, and we'll give you a little bit more details on that. But as a result of that, we had to switch a few things around. So for this weekend only, YouTube subscribers of the RCWR show, you all are getting first crack at our weekend edition. So kick on back and enjoy. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it amongst your friends, your family. If it's your first time checking out our channel and this is one of the first videos that you are checking out, hope you enjoy the content. Alright, so without any further ado, I do hope you all are having a good weekend. Let's jump right into it and rewind it back with our WWE Raw report from this past Monday night, where the odds had stacked up very high for the King of Kings, the Cerebral Assassin, the Game, Triple H, as he met with Paul Heyman to sign on the dotted line for his match against Brock Lesnar at this year's WrestleMania in New Jersey. And remember, folks, Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, they had revealed the last time that they were on Raw that they wanted this match to go down with Triple H, but they wanted a stipulation to be added to it, and they would only reveal it after Triple H signed on the dotted line. Now, we saw Paul Heyman go the verbal route, getting very intense, bringing up Triple H's wife and bringing up very bad circumstances, reminding Triple H how Brock Lesnar destroyed Shawn Michaels, destroyed his father-in-law, Vince McMahon. This just pushed Triple H over the edge as he got physical with the former ECW owner. Bodyguards tried to do their best to come to the aid of Paul Heyman, but it did not help one bit, as Triple H was able to make quick work of them and get his hands on Heyman. He finally would sign on the dotted line after extracting a little bit of retribution out physically on Paul Heyman. It would only be then when Triple H learned the hard way that he had made a very costly mistake, possibly now, as it was revealed by Heyman that the match that's going to be going down between Triple H and Brock Lesnar at this year's WrestleMania 29 is going to be a no-holds-barred match. But on top of that, Triple H's career is on the line. We've already seen in a WWE.com exclusive interview Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels give their thoughts on Triple H's career possibly ending at the hands of Brock Lesnar, and the stakes for this, it just could not be any higher. Let's rewind it back. Triple H's two best friends, Nature Boy, Ric Flair, Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, they both respectively had retired at WrestleMania. That was their final matches. So with that in the back of Triple H's mind, you can't help but wonder, are we seeing the final days of Triple H? I, for one, I went on record with this earlier this week on our Tuesday Night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show, as well as our YouTube Raw post show. And I still feel the same way I did earlier in the week, which is I'm really glad that they did not go the MMA route. There was a lot of buzz amongst the wrestling community that maybe WWE was going to try to go down the route. I'm quite sure as more information comes to light leading into WrestleMania this year, we'll probably learn that it was actually one of the main ideas that they wanted to go with, but had a second change of heart. I'm glad they did not go that route. I'm glad that they are going in a extreme rules type of match, if you will. No holds barred, anything goes, weapons, you name it. Really no way you can get disqualified. Only way the match is going to end is if you get that pinfall or you make somebody submit. I'm totally down with that. But the fact that you have Triple H's career on the line, from that writing standpoint, it's now giving Triple H that much more to try to fight for as his very livelihood, his entire career. Now, when you think about his career, you can't help but kind of wonder here, is it his wrestling career that's on the line, or is it his WWE executive career that's on the line, or is it both? I'm still a little bit confused as far as which career is on the line. Maybe for the sake of the argument, it's the wrestling career that's on the line. And myself and Diamond K, we went very in-depth on this earlier this week, and quite honestly, I think that in no shape or form are we going to be done seeing Triple H just yet. I think from that writing, creative, booking standpoint, it would make a ton of sense to see Brock Lesnar destroy Triple H at this year's WrestleMania, get that stock high up, especially if they're trying to set up Brock Lesnar to take on The Rock at WrestleMania 30. You just talk about huge momentum for Brock Lesnar going into that eventful program with the Brahma Bull, aka the People's Champion. What better way to cap it all off, or kick it off rather, than with him getting a huge win over the King of Kings. Now, that's just where my money is. I don't really know if it's going to play out that way. There's my heart telling me that Triple H is going to pick up this win. After all, he did suffer that loss at SummerSlam last year. Makes a whole lot of sense. The way WWE usually likes to operate it, okay, you gave one out there, now you got to take one back. I did a job for you, now you got to do a job for me. So don't be too surprised, folks, if we end up seeing Triple H pick up a win over Brock Lesnar. But nonetheless, I love the stipulation that's been added. Now fans have a little bit more that they can feel invested in going into this year's WrestleMania, because there's two different angles that could play out with this. Triple H could very well lose, okay? And we could be watching Triple H for the very last time. And quite honestly, if Triple H is going to bow out as a wrestler, what better way to end the run of a very illustrious career than in New Jersey, just outside of New York City? Hey, I love it. I'm all for it. Of course, for a more in-depth look on what all I had thought about this past Monday night's Raw for this particular segment between Triple H and Brock Lesnar, I highly encourage you guys to rewind it back to the RCWR show from this past Tuesday night, where myself and Diamond K, we went in great lengths to talk about this. Other highlights that we had saw from this past week's WWE Raw, we saw Fandango get a huge rub-off of none other than the Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla, Chris Jericho, host of the hit sci-fi series Robot Combat League. Thing has been just bringing in tremendous numbers on the Sci-Fi Network. So damn good. They are showing it multiple times on that channel, and they just started bringing it to the USA Network. Talk about a powerhouse hit. Well, Fandango ended up brushing off briefly against Chris Jericho in a backstage segment, trying to get Chris Jericho to say his name. Chris Jericho would make fun of Fandango's name, call him every other name but the name itself. And Fandango promising Chris Jericho would know his name and get it right. And this would not be the only time that we would see Fandango and Chris Jericho face to face. Spoiler alert for you guys, a little taste of things to come later in the show. Way it's looking right now, we are going to be seeing Fandango and Chris Jericho get it on at WrestleMania. I called this early on as soon as I saw the events go down this Monday night, and it's really looking like WWE has a lot of faith in this young man. Way to go. The whole Johnny Curtis gimmick, that just was not working. He wasn't really going anywhere. He takes some time off. He goes back down to the NXT plan. He starts working out again, gets repackaged as Fandango. They start doing these vignettes. Finally, this young kid has something that fans can really get behind. He's got the looks, he's got the moves, and really, WWE is just showing great confidence in this young man as they're pairing him up with one of the very best to lace up a pair of boots in Chris Jericho, veteran in-ring performer, hands down, one of the best, doesn't get any better than that. And I am looking very forward to seeing these two men lock it up at WrestleMania. And again, we are not done talking about Chris Jericho and Fandango just yet. Other key highlight from Raw this past Monday night, we saw the continuation of CM Punk and The Undertaker, where things took a little bit of a bitter turn, if you will, as CM Punk was mocking the late William Paul Bear Moody, having the urn in his hand, actually dropping it supposedly by accident, as Undertaker pretty much told CM Punk he sealed his fate. He's going to get an ass whooping coming to him, whether he likes it or not. But CM Punk bringing up a very interesting point that really needs to be stressed here, as he was addressing Undertaker via Titantron from a remote area. Undertaker can lose by disqualification or countout. So even though he may not get pinned or he may not submit, there are other ways that he could lose this match. Just to hear that, it kind of has me wondering, could we possibly have an understanding of CM Punk's strategy come WrestleMania? Just how exactly he's gonna get a win over The Undertaker. One of which, let's keep in mind, Undertaker, he's one of the guys when it comes to mind games. He's the king of kings when it comes to it. But we see CM Punk able to beat Undertaker right now, past couple of weeks, really getting into his head. I can't help but kick back and wonder what else CM Punk has in store for the dead man, as we're now 2 weeks away from WrestleMania. But one thing is for certain, CM Punk is pushing all the right buttons and capitalizing on Undertaker's best friend's death. Paul Bearer, I'm telling you, this match, it's going to be hands down epic. It's going to be freaking awesome. And this is coming despite the recent reports that we're hearing on CM Punk, who really wants to take some time off. He's been battling some nagging injuries, and the way things are looking right now after WrestleMania is done, looks like he's going to be taking some well-deserved time off. What could this mean as far as his match against Undertaker? Well, we'll definitely talk about some of the matches that's going to be happening at Mania this coming week, as we'll offer early match predictions. So make sure that you check that out. You'll be able to catch it this Tuesday night at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. Make sure you check that out, folks. All right, we're going to go on ahead and we're going to take a very brief commercial break. But when we come right back, we'll cover the fallout from this week's main event on the Ion channel. Also, it was Storytellers with Bully Ray on the new episode of Impact Wrestling. It was pre-taped as it came to us once again from the Sears Center in Chicago, Illinois. Bully Ray revealing his master plan of just how everything came together with the Aces and Eights and his rise to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. All this and the very latest from this past Friday's Friday Night SmackDown and latest in wrestling related news and beyond. You're checking out the RCWR Show
For
Weekend
news,
Edition.
Like us on
YouTube.
Facebook during
We'll
this commercial
right
break
back, folks.
at
Do hang tight.
Infinity One Productions.
Weekend edition of the RCWR show on YouTube is back. Hosts right here, Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders. Hey, I want to just give you guys a quick heads up before we go any further into today's show. Yours truly just got a hold of my WWE Raw tickets, and I am going to be going this April 1st as WWE Raw will be airing from the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C. It's the final Raw, and it should be a damn explosive Raw before WrestleMania 29. And yours truly, along with the beautiful and the lovely co-producer Tammy. It's been a long time since me and her have collaborated. She has a little bit of free time coming up, and she's going to be tagging along with me to the D.C. area, representing the RCWR show in style. So if you happen to be in the DC area on April 1st and you're going to that Raw event, definitely look out for us. We'll have the RCWR shirts on. Definitely feel free to say a hello while you're at the event, as we're definitely going to be friendly, chatting it up with other wrestling fans, and you can expect pictures, tweets, all the works, as I'm going to be at the event all night long, again, on Monday night, April 1st. Rock is going to be in the house, Brock Lesnar is going to be in the house, Triple H, CM Punk, Undertaker, Chris Jericho, The Shield. It's going to be a jam-packed house. Love it when WWE comes to the Washington, D.C. area. It's our way of branching out more to cover key wrestling events that happen in the area over here on the East Coast, as we're beginning to take the RCWR show on the road. Also, quick programming note for those of you that might be a little bit curious, I will be making a very special rare appearance on Diamond K's show over on Ustream Radio that Monday night. As soon as Raw goes off the air, I will be joining him on a special Raw post show. So make sure that you check it out. For all show information, check out the Diamond K show on YouTube at the Diamond K show. Also on Twitter at the same name, so you can get all the show information. That way you don't miss out. In case you do miss that, we got the Tuesday Night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR show. Yours truly will be kicking on back along with Diamond K, and I'll definitely go more in depth about my experience at the Raw event in DC. For now, let's go on ahead and let's talk about what all had went down from main event as seen on the Ion channel. We had a damn good matchup between the Barrett Barrage, Wade Barrett, as he had soundly defeated Kofi Kingston. Intercontinental Champion has recently been in a bit of a funk in recent weeks, but it looks like he's starting to become that fighting and winning champion again. As post-match, he had a few words with Miz Mizarian. Looks like at this point, Miz and Wade Barrett are going to be getting it on for that Intercontinental title. I still can't help but kind of kick back and say, well, what about Antonio Cesaro? What's going on with Cesaro? Wasn't it supposed to be The Miz and Cesaro for the United States title? Why are we just kind of kicking back and just ignoring Cesaro right now. Not really sure what's up with that. Hopefully the guy is doing pretty good. Hopefully he's not in the doghouse. I don't know. Maybe they just don't know what to do with him right now. My God, at least have the man show up on the YouTube pre-show. That's not really asking too much. Let him take on Kofi Kingston or the returning R-Truth. You know, speaking of people that made returns, we actually saw the Usos close out main event as they teamed up to take on and defeat the primetime players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Very interesting right here, folks, as let's not forget it was just a couple of weeks ago that Jimmy Uso that is, he had got in trouble for driving while under the influence, as it was the second time that this guy had been arrested with the charges of a DUI. Now, just to shed a little bit light to that report, in case it refreshes you all memory, as we did first report this to you all as soon as it went down initially, here's an update on that, as Jimmy Uso's attorney, Keith M. Gaughan, he passed along this following statement with regards to his client's arrest that week. He says, and direct quote right here, that the arrest for driving on a suspended license before his probation period ended from his first arrest and thus is not his second DUI. Now, here's what it says right here in its entirety. Direct quote right here. Please accept this correspondence as a notice of correction as it relates to the recent arrest of Jonathan Fatu, aka Jimmy Uso. As many of you have reported, Mr. Fatu was charged with a DUI in 2012. He pled no contest to said charge and was placed on probation. He completed the terms and conditions of his probation as directed by the court. While waiting for the termination of said probation to take effect, he was enormously cited for driving on a suspended license, and an affidavit of violation of probation was filed. This most recent arrest derived from Mr. Fatu turning himself into the Hillsborough County Jail, allowing for the warrant to be set aside. This warrant was not a second DUI as is being falsely reported. We are extremely confident that once we get on the court's docket, Mr. Fatu's probation will be terminated and a citation for driving on a suspended license will be dismissed. So, bearing all that in mind, we see Jimmy and Jey Uso return to WWE main television programming on a main event channel there, on Ion that is, and they defeat the primetime players. Now, I can't help but kind of kick back and say to myself, so we see the primetime players lose. Are they possibly paying for a very poor segment that had went down with John Cena in the opening segment of Raw, with that pancake Uncle Ruffus character that Titus O'Neil had came up with? We saw John Cena there on Raw. He was talking for like about 11 minutes. Quite boring, honestly. Then we see the primetime players come out, and the first 2 minutes of their little slapstick comedy was pretty on point. But then afterwards, it seemed like it was dragging, and it was just excruciating. I could tolerate it a little bit more than that unfortunate Brad Maddox segment from last week. But I still felt that this was a little too drawn out, so I can't help but kind of kick back and say to myself, are these guys paying for that poor segment, and that's why they lost to the Usos? Hey, the message that they are sending right now, they being WWE, it looks like maybe they are just sitting on their hands and knees trying to see exactly what's going to come about with Jonathan Fatu's court appearance, and maybe then they will take action accordingly. But I'm still not expecting them to be appearing on television like that. Not to the point of how it used to be before. Not until this mess gets cleared up. And honestly, I think WWE should have just kept Jimmy off of television until this was just resolved completely, and maybe just try to see what the other Uso can do in singles competition. Hey, you never know, you might have a diamond in the rough. Hey, let's talk about Impact Wrestling now, as it's time to switch gears and cover what all had went down from Impact Wrestling as seen on Spike TV. One of the main highlights from this past Thursday night, my favorite too, Storytellers with Bully Ray. That's how I am dubbing it. Do you know who I am? Is what Bully Ray had asked. Well, you definitely knew who this man was by the time he got done recapping the 9-month journey to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. A beautiful master plan, as Bully Ray had described how all of the members of Aces and Eights had came about, how they all ended up joining the stable, and quite honestly, in a nutshell, these men ended up joining Aces and Eights after being rejected by the TNA general manager, Hulk Hogan. At some point in Hulk Hogan's career in TNA Wrestling as the GM, he's come across all these men that needed some type of help at one point, and Hogan turned them down. Whether it was giving them an opportunity, giving them a chance to shine, or giving them a job, Hogan just turned them down completely. And this is all what had led to Aces and Eights being formed. Is basically a form of rejection. You go with the Mr. Anderson. He got the beat down from Aces and Eights. Where was Hulk Hogan? Where was the visits by the Hulkster? Where was the phone calls? Where was the emails? Where was the get well cards? There was none of that. Nothing from Mr. Anderson. That's what made him defect over to Aces and Eights. How about Garrett Bischoff? Garrett Bischoff, he helped Hogan when it counted the most. Sided with him to get his own father, Eric Bischoff, out of the company. Then Garrett Bischoff, he decides he wants to try to embark on a singles career. Hulk Hogan kept turning him down time and time again. Every time a opportunity presented itself where Garrett could try to prove himself, but the Hulkster denying him. What would happen to Garrett Bischoff? He would end up going over to Aces and Eights. Devon has practically been there since day one. And the tipping point for all this, for Devon going over to Aces and Eights, was when the Hulkster had allowed Devon's contract to expire, not able to work things out with him. Devon, having felt betrayed, having felt jacked off, shafted, call it whatever you want to call it, would end up going to Aces and Eights. And that's pretty much been the main theme for every single member that's been in Aces and Eights, as Bully Ray just told the beautiful story of how all these men were just able to come together, side with him, and how he was able to manipulate everybody. Even as early as the Bound for Glory series, every little thing, every little minor detail that you can think of, Bully Ray had orchestrated, that left no doubt in one's mind that there is no CEO, there is no founder, there is no chairman. It is all just Bully Ray. Although Diamond will tell you something completely different otherwise. Tell you that maybe, just maybe, we're going to possibly get to see a Brooke Hogan be revealed as the head honcho of Aces and Eights, as he still feels there's at least one more member that needs to be revealed. I definitely want to get you all's thoughts on that, so definitely feel free to share your thoughts on if a Brooke Hogan should be part of the Aces and Eights stable, and we'll actually follow up on it, if not on next week's Impact Showdown Radio. We'll definitely follow up on a weekend edition of the RCWR show, but I want to give you guys enough time to share your comments on it. But from that TNA writing perspective, I thought that this episode, just with the way that the storytelling had went down, explaining Bully Ray, the 9-month journey, all those little things that we were noticing in Aces and Eights, how everything just comes together. It was another great way of telling a story, and to go that far back, something Diamond K had pointed out, and I agreed 100%, and I was thinking the same thing. We have not seen that many wrestling promotions really tell a story that goes that far back. And although the timing of it may be a little bit off because this has been dragging out for months and fans kind of felt a little excruciated by it, it definitely should have ended a little bit sooner. When you just kick back and you just look at the overall story, definitely some good writing was done on TNA's part. They at least are giving off the impression that they knew what they were doing all this time. Although there was a couple of areas that seemed a little bit rough, they knew overall what they were trying to execute. So my hats go off to TNA Wrestling for some really good storytelling and trying to get Bully Ray over as the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Speaking of which, Bully Ray has a threat on the horizon as a new number one contender was crowned. It was originally Jeff Hardy, but he had put up his number one contender spot on the line as he had took on Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and Magnus in a fatal four-way, of which Jeff Hardy won. So he is now officially the number one contender that will face Bully Ray, hey, maybe possibly on an episode of Impact Wrestling. Damn good episode of Impact Wrestling. For the full coverage of what all you might have missed, I highly encourage you guys to backtrack to this past Thursday's Impact Showdown Radio. It's actually available right now on our YouTube channel. Go check it out and check out all the other great content that we have on our channel. And be sure to go out of your way and leave a comment. Let us know how you either liked or disliked the episode, what got you wowed up about that particular episode if you ended up checking it out. And we'll definitely share you all's reactions on a future episode of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio. We're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll talk about the fallout from Friday night's SmackDown as Fandango, Chris Jericho, yes, they meet again. Also, Big Show, Randy Orton, Sheamus. Can they get along? Can they form a successful tag team and take on The Shield? We'll talk more about that, and we'll also cover the very latest in wrestling-related news and beyond. You're checking out the weekend edition of the RCWR show on YouTube. We'll be coming right back.
For news you can use, like us on Facebook during this commercial break at Infinity One Productions.
Weekend edition of the RCWR show is back. Before we go any further, I want to just take this time out to thank you, the listeners, for making 2013 so far be a damn good year for us. We are bringing in some of our best numbers yet since we've been on the air, and we've been at this for a year now. We almost got 200 episodes under our belt. And you guys just continue to show the love and show the great support by checking out all the episodes that we put up on a weekly basis. Whether you're checking it out on the downloads, iTunes, Zune Marketplaces, Stitcher, you're checking it out on YouTube or over on Blog Talk Radio, we appreciate that love and support. And all we ask is that you continue to give us that love and support. And hey, spread the good word. Let your friends, your family that's in the wrestling, entertainment, you know how we do it over here. Let them know about our show. Have that word get spreaded, because really that's how we keep going. That's how we're able to keep doing what we're doing for you guys. And we got a lot of big things coming up. Some of it has already come to fruition, but we have another one that's going to be coming up sometime in April, and I cannot wait to share with you all. That big news is definitely going to change the way that we do our shows in the near future. I can promise you that. But once again, thank you all very kindly. Alright, so let's talk about what had happened on Friday Night SmackDown, as once again, Chris Jericho, Fandango, these two men, they actually ended up meeting again, and it was in one of the most peculiar ways. Now, to capitalize on a great 5-star match that we had saw between Chris Jericho and Jack Swagger, one more time this past Friday night, we saw the two men lock it up again, of which Jack Swagger was able to get another win over the former Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla. Well, I guess you can still give him that title, but right now, if you're keeping score, Jack Swagger 2, Chris Jericho 0. Jericho just does not have this boy's number. It was post-match that was very interesting, though. As Swagger, Zeb Coulter, they leave the ring, we see the one and only Fandango coming to the ring. So Chris Jericho does this awesome leg move, I believe from off the top rope, then asks him, does he know his name now, before saying his name, Fandango, which is really, really pushing it along now, that without a doubt we're going to see these two guys lock it up at WrestleMania. Some of us were a little bit concerned what was going on with Chris Jericho. I know I went on record a couple of weeks back saying, hey, what's going on with Chris Jericho? Seems like WWE writers, the booking, they don't know what to do with this guy. Where is he going? It looks like he is now going in the direction of Fandango. And honestly, I know some people, they just can't stand the thought of Fandango because they haven't seen him wrestle yet. Many people, they just don't get it. It's kind of going over their head. They think this guy sucks, blah this, blah that. You know, you're not a hardcore, true wrestling fan if you cannot appreciate a character like a Fandango who's got a little bit of Ravishing Rick Rude meets Rick the Body Montel. He's got a nice combination of those guys. He also has one of my most favorite underrated mid-card guys, maybe lower mid-card, Rico, who used to be the manager for Billy and Chuck. Of course, badass Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo. Thought Rico did some phenomenal freaking work when he was in the WWE. I can definitely appreciate a guy like Fandango, and honestly, this is like the hottest gimmick that one former Johnny Curtis has had in his wrestling career thus far. It's got him on main WWE programming on a consistent basis. It's got people talking, whether it's good or bad. And honestly, I think that if this kid just keeps his head clean and he keeps delivering the type of performances that he's doing, I think he's going to be a huge impact player for a few years to come. But I'm looking very, very forward to seeing him and Chris Jericho lock it up. I definitely want to get you all's thoughts on Chris Jericho and Fandango locking it up at WrestleMania. If you feel it's going to be a damn good match, if you feel it's going to be a show stealer, I definitely want to hear what you all think. Share those comments below. We'll share you all's thoughts on another episode of the RCWR show or Impact Showdown Radio coming up next week, maybe even our weekend edition if we have a ton of comments. But share your comments below, let us know what you think. You know, speaking of SmackDown, one other key thing that we had saw from that respected episode, we saw The Miz defeat Antonio Cesaro, and just poor Antonio Cesaro. I was beyond upset when I had saw this. We were talking about, hey, where's Cesaro? What's going on? Well, we finally get Cesaro on SmackDown, and he loses cleanly to The Miz as he taps out via the figure 4 leg lock, paying homage to the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair. And I'm sorry, but when I saw this go down, I was completely pissed off. I'm saying to myself, WWE booking, WTF, what the fuck, what the hell, why are you doing Antonio Cesaro like this? He is one of your guys that is a freaking solid in-ring performer. He is like one of those vintage 80s wrestlers. He is a really nice freaking throwback for a guy like me that's been watching wrestling since the 80s, I can appreciate his style of wrestling. Going in there, no knee pads, no elbow pads, just doing the damn thing raw, literally. I love this guy, and to not see him defend the United States title on a couple of episodes of SmackDown, Main Event, or Raw, just to see him job, it's just poor booking, and it's really making him look like an afterthought, and it's making the WWE writers look like they don't know what the hell they're doing, and quite honestly, I'm surprised Vince McMahon hasn't been chewing off the daggone writers. I'm surprised Triple H hasn't been chewing the writers' heads off, because to let a talent like this be underutilized the way that he is, it's ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is the thought of possibly not seeing Antonio Cesaro make an appearance at WrestleMania. That's what's really kind of irking me out the wrong way right now, as really it's starting to look more like they are going in the direction of Miz taking on Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental title when you already have history there with Cesaro. Now, if I was doing this properly, just to kind of save two birds here with one stone, I would go on ahead and I would have Wade Barrett take on The Miz at WrestleMania. But I would create a WrestleMania first. I would have The Miz do double duty at that main event. I would have The Miz do a match against Wade Barrett for that Intercontinental title. Miz loses, but then in a backstage segment, maybe he briefly bumps into Antonio Cesaro. Cesaro takes some cheap shots at him verbally, which leads the Miz to say, you know what, I might have just got done getting my ass whooped, but I'm pretty sure I can own your ass any day of the week. Why don't you meet me in the ring? And maybe we could see Cesaro say, okay, you know what, you're on. Then we see Miz, Cesaro later on in the program. They go at it, and Miz becomes the Intercontinental Champion that way. And so basically, you get Miz twice one night, may lose the Intercontinental title opportunity, but wins the United States title. That way it looks kind of balanced out, and at least us Antonio Cesaro fans could kick back and say, hey, he had a damn good performance at WrestleMania. He actually appeared at WrestleMania. Is it going to go down like that? Honestly, I don't think it will, but that was definitely one of my least favorite moments in checking out SmackDown this past week. Also, one other highlight, we saw The Shield, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. They tried to get a jump on the newly formed team of Big Show, Sheamus, Randy Orton. They were trying their best to get on the same page as they were put in an ultimate test by the SmackDown general manager, Booker T, as they had teamed up to take on the three-man band. Big Show a little bit upset as Sheamus has stole his win, and just as the bickering was going back and forth, we see Randy Orton get in between the two guys, trying to calm everything down, trying to be that moderator, peace moderator of the group at that. And we saw the Shield come on out, looked like they were trying to capitalize on all the ruckus, but at least momentarily, we saw Big Show, Sheamus, Randy Orton unite. That had the Shield once again retreat. I don't know, I'm seeing a little bit of traces in Randy Orton, a frustrated Randy Orton at that. I'm kind of getting the impression here that if anybody's going to be betraying anybody, if anybody could possibly be walking out of a match come this WrestleMania with regards to this six-man tag match, I'm looking at Randy Orton. I know WWE as well as Randy Orton been waiting for the right opportunity to go back to being a heel. What better way to kick it off than doing it at WrestleMania? Get a lot of people talking, get everybody buzzing. I don't know, I'm giving you guys a heads up right now. I think I see some dark things amongst the horizon for one Randy Orton. Hey, Let's not forget, we got to show some love to the SmackDown General Manager. Booker T, the 6-time World Heavyweight Champion, was announced as the newest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. He will be joining Satisfaction, or Stratusfaction, as I like to call it, Miss Trish Stratus, the hardcore legend Mick Foley, Mr. Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, the Trump, Donald Trump. Is going to be joining that elite group as they will be the newest 2013 inductees the night before WrestleMania. Congrats to Booker T. Hey, we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll dip into the very latest in wrestling news headlines. Been somewhat of a slow week, but we'll hook you up with the very latest on what we have. We'll also give you guys the 411 on what all's going to be happening with the Shine 8 iPay-per-view that's going to be happening later tonight. We'll give you the 411 on that. And we'll hook you up with the very latest in Ring of Honor wrestling news. You're checking out the weekend edition of the RCWR show on March 23rd, 2013. We will be coming right back.
Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond. You're listening to the RCWR show, weekend edition, with your host, Lee Sanders.
Weekend edition of the RCWR show is back. You know, as we're winding down for the day, I want to just give you guys a quick programming note that we're going to be covering the fallout from the Shine Wrestling 8 iPay-per-view. That's right, it's going down later tonight. First time ever, the RCWR show is going to be airing in prime time this Saturday night. Immediately after the fallout from the Shine Wrestling pay-per-view, you definitely want to join us. If you are a longtime RCWR show fan, you know how much of a supporter I am of women's wrestling, and you know about this new tradition that we are doing on a regular basis, something that we had started late last year, as we made a commitment to cover the Shine Wrestling promotion and their respected iPay-per-views whenever they come out. And this is actually going to be, if I'm not mistaken, our third or fourth pay-per-view that we're going to be covering for them. And it's always a joy. Let me tell you the card right now. Already signed, of course. We got the live event hostess herself, Daphne, Miss Daphne. I love that girl. In the main event, we're going to be seeing Valkyrie of Rain, Ivelisse, and Maiden Sin. They're going to be taking on Amazing Kong, Maya Yim, Christina Von Airy, and making her wrestling match debut, former TNA Knockouts champion, Angelina Love. Also, we have the Career versus Respect. Reba Sky will be facing Jessica Havoc. Remember, if Rebby wins, then Jessica has to shake her hand in the middle of the ring and give her the respect that is long overdue. However, if Havoc wins, then Rebby Sky's Shine Wrestling career is over. Pick your poison match. We're going to be seeing Leva Bates take on Kimberly. Their rivalry continues. And a rematch from Shine 7 as Mercedes Martinez will be taking on one of my favorite wrestling girls, Nikki Rocks. Santina will be facing Sojo Bolt. Brandy Wine will be facing Jamie Jameson. Sue Young will take on Brittany Savage. And Nikki St. John will be taking on Luscious Latasha. Very, very proud to be covering the Shine Wrestling pay-per-views for you all. You know, if you haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, if you're a little bit skeptical, then hey, they got some really great pricing options. You can't beat it. You can just pay $10 just to be able to stream the event on your laptop, desktop. If you got an HDMI cable, that's awesome. Hook it up to your TV, kick on back with some beer, invite some friends over, and you got yourself a cool show that you can check out for about 2 hours, maybe plus. Can't really complain with that. They also got options where you can get the video on demand, and you can actually order a hard copy of the event. So Great stuff, great pricing options. For links, just go over to our website at infinity1productions.com. We actually provide banners that you can click on that'll take you through the sign up process. Takes like less than 3 minutes to complete. Afterwards, you can order the pay-per-views, have fun. It's just totally freaking phenomenal. You won't be disappointed. Check them out. You'll love the promotion. They have great talents that they bring in from all around the world on a monthly basis. It just doesn't get any better than this, especially if you like women's wrestling. You like seeing hot women get it on and actually know how to freaking wrestle. Shine Wrestling is definitely the place you want to be. And if you are our longtime listeners that have also been checking out our Shine Wrestling coverage, then you guys know that yours truly will be up in the WW Live chat room there as the Shine Wrestling event is on. I will be chatting with folks throughout the night. You'll know my handle when you see it. It's my dead giveaway right there. It's actually my real name. Lee Sanders, of course. So check it out, and if you end up ordering the pay-per-view, you hop in the chat room, you see me, definitely give a shout out, say hello. Alright, so briefly, let's talk about wrestling-related news as the show's getting ready to wrap up here. You know, recently, and I want to share TNA Impact ratings with you all, as I recently came across this. Looks like Thursday's episode did a 1.387 million viewers to score a rating of a 1.7. Not too shabby, pretty much the same as last week, which had scored a 1.7 and average 1.41 million viewers. Not too shabby at all. Of course, one of the biggest pieces of news that is coming from wrestling this week is that Batista was at NXT with Triple H. That's right, Batista was at a NXT taping from Full Sail University, as he was spotted before the show talking to Triple H, and later he was filmed in an interview for the upcoming Triple H DVD. You know, we're hearing rumblings that Batista may be going back to the WWE, hearing rumblings that maybe the night after WrestleMania is when he's going to be making his return. Got some Ring of Honor news for you guys. Looks like Ring of Honor officials have just announced that on May 4th, for Border Wars 2013 and at the TV tapings the following day, multiple-time GHC champion Namuchi Marufuji and current GHC Junior Heavyweight champion Tajiri Ishimori from Pro Wrestling Noah will be competing for Ring of Honor Wrestling. Now, their matches have not been announced yet. On March 30th, live from Asheville, North Carolina, Mark Briscoe will challenge Kevin Steen for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Tickets for that is available right now. Also, an update due to that separated shoulder that Jay Briscoe suffered, he's no longer going to be competing at the March 30th live event. However, he will be in his brother Mark Briscoe's corner. Michael Elgin will be taking on Adam Page as the match has just been signed for the March 30th event in Asheville. On March 29th in Charlotte, Ring of Honor will be teaming up with PWX for Enemy Territory. Kevin Steen will challenge Caleb Conley for the PWX Heavyweight Championship. Michael Elgin will face Corey Hollins. The Chiva Kid goes one-on-one with Delirious. Eddie Edwards will fight Jack Manning, and the TV title is going to be on the line. You can get ticket info on that event right now at pwxpro.com. Once again, that's pwxpro.com. Ring of Honor officials, they also just announced that this past weekend at the Supercard of Honor 7, Michael Elgin will face off against Jay Lethal in the number one contenders match. And Tardius Thomas and ACH will be taking on QT Marshall and a mystery partner who's just been signed for the Supercard of Honor 7. Currently now, Ring of Honor officials are working on a plan that has Scum taking on a honor match for Super Card of Honor 7. More details on that will be coming next week. Of course, we'll give you guys another update on the weekend edition of the RCWR show. Speaking of Scum, this week on Ring of Honor television, Scum had an invasion planned, as additionally Matt Hardy had took on Adam Cole in the main event. Michael Elgin had fought Elias Young, and hey, Charlie Haas had made an appearance. Ring of Honor kind of shaping up to be pretty good, at least within the past few weeks. Kind of been helping a little bit that Matt Hardy has been there helping them out. You know, usually we like to kick back on the weekend edition of the RCWR show, and we like to share with you all the very latest and what all has happened in entertainment news and beyond. But we're not going to do that this particular episode. I just want to give you guys just a little bit of a taste of how we usually do it on our weekend edition of the RCWR show. I definitely want to get you all's thoughts on this new, smaller version of our weekend edition. So do me a favor, definitely share your comments. Let me know how you enjoyed this weekend edition. Let me know if you would prefer to just have there be nothing but wrestling talk on here when you guys check it out on YouTube, or if you'd like to hear the usual content that we cover outside of wrestling. And given the number of responses that we get from you all, it'll kind of dictate to us how we'll need to go about uploading our episodes for you all, what we need to cut out, what's working, what's not. So definitely share your comments. Let us know how you had enjoyed this exclusive remixed edition of our weekend edition, exclusive only to our YouTube subscribers, at least this week. Alright, as I mentioned earlier, we got the RCWR post show that's going to be airing later tonight, immediately after the fallout from the Shine Wrestling pay-per-view, as that event will be kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I would suspect it's going to go off maybe around 9:30, 10. Who knows? Hey, whenever it's over, we'll definitely be coming on for all the latest updates, show info for when we're going to be coming on the air. Follow us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. We also have a new Twitter handle at the RCWR Show. Once again, new Twitter handle over at the RCWR Show. Add that. Follow it for upcoming show information, guests that's going to be dropping by, the works. Speaking of guests, we got some awesome guests that's going to be coming by actually later this month. We know there's only 2 weeks left, but I believe I have somebody that's going to be coming by our weekend edition next Saturday. Pay attention to our Twitter feeds. We'll give you the 411. I think you guys will enjoy who we have coming by. Talk of wrestling may end here, but follow us on Facebook at Infinity1Productions.com for a little bit of news that you can use. And be kind, rewind, check out all the episodes that you might have missed from us right now on iTunes. Keywords, the RCWR show, also on Stitcher. Just use the same keywords. Hey, you're on YouTube. You got all the content that you get to see right now available in the power of your hands. Enhanced audio, cleaned up versions of all our episodes. Check them out. We got exclusive interviews on here. Stuff from Bruno Sammartino, Gene Snitsky, Joey Ryan. Check it out right now. We got some good stuff. And hey, if you end up liking our content and it's your first time checking out our channel, go out of your way, hit that subscribe button, leave those comments, show the love. I'm the Black Avenger, as always, Lee Sanders. I wish you guys to be safe, be kind to one another. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And if I don't catch you all this Saturday night, I will catch you this Monday night for our YouTube edition of the WWE Raw Post Show, covering the fallout from Raw as The Rock is back in the house. Everybody, be safe, be kind to one another. Take care.